The series begins with Kum Tae-ha, who is the deputy CEO of SH Crew. He's a very determined and ambitious person. After his parents passed away, his grandfather, Kum Sung-mo, wanted Tae-ha to take over his company, which specializes in art and fashion. One day, Tae-ha's assistant, Kung Song-pyo, informed him that he needed to have a fake marriage for a day. This was because Sung-mo wanted this before undergoing surgery abroad to treat his illness. Hearing that, Tae-ha agreed, even though he had never been in a romantic relationship before. He did this to make his grandfather feel better. To reassure Sung-mo, Tae-ha claimed that he would soon marry a woman named Vanessa, who was actually someone he had hired to participate in the fake marriage. Soon after, Sung-mo is on his way to the hotel where Tae-ha is supposed to get married. At the same time, Tae-ha is getting ready for his wedding. However, Vanessa, the woman who was supposed to marry Tae-ha, can't be reached, and this worries him a lot. So they both start looking for a new bride. While they're at the pool, they notice a woman who is in trouble and about to drown. Tae-ha tells Song-pyo to help her. But Song-pyo can't swim, so Tae-ha jumps into the pool and rescues the woman, whose name is Park Yeon-woo. After saving her, Tae-ha wants to call for an ambulance, but he changes his mind when he sees that Yeon-woo has started to recover after coughing up water. Then, something surprising happens. Yeon-woo hugs Tae-ha and calls him her husband. Tae-ha is shocked and thinks she might have memory problems because of the drowning incident. As Yeon-woo looks around, she tries to remember events from her past when she lived in the Joseon era. Back then, she was known as the Butterfly Girl. She was famous for creating stylish clothing designs, some of which were considered too revealing and even forbidden. To avoid getting caught by the government, she secretly ran her clothing business with a cloth shop owner. On the other hand, Yeon-woo's mother is unhappy because her daughter isn't married yet, even though she's at an age when people usually start families. Yeon-woo, however, isn't interested in marriage. So, whenever a matchmaker tries to find her a husband, she pretends to act crazy or sick to avoid it. She secretly wants to be a clothing designer and even does some work that's not quite ethical. Her maid Samuel worries about her because she comes from a respected family, but secretly does this kind of work. To hide her identity, Yeon-woo always wears a head covering when she's doing her secret job. On the other hand, a young man named Kang-ha is painting a girl who looks a lot like Yeon-woo, whom he loves. His stepmother tells him that he's going to be set up with a girl for an upcoming wedding. The next day, Yeon-woo goes to a fabric shop to start sewing again, but gets disappointed because the shop owner no longer wants to work with her. Many other tailors have copied her work, so the shop owner doesn't need her anymore. In the palace, the king got really mad when he saw the royal princess wearing clothes that showed too much. A lady-in-waiting confessed that she got the dress from a tailor in town. Then the king ordered the Minister of Justice to find that tailor who was selling revealing clothes. Meanwhile, Yeon-woo went to give away some clothes to other shop owners, but she was shocked to see the Department of Justice inspecting and burning clothes they thought were inappropriate. The soldiers eventually found Yeon-woo, so Samuel quickly told her to run away. While running away, Tae-ha, who knew soldiers were after Yeon-woo, tried to help her. They ended up hiding in a stretcher owned by Chan-young, who ran a brothel and claimed to predict the future. At that time, Chan-young saw what would happen to Yeon-woo. Some time later, Yeon-woo was getting married without knowing that Kang-ha, the man who helped her before, was going to be her husband. Kang-ha already knew that Yeon-woo would be his wife. On the wedding day, Samuel was surprised to see that Yeon-woo's husband was very handsome, and Yeon-woo was still curious about what he looked like. When night came, Kang-ha surprisingly decided to end his marriage because his family hadn't told them about his heart disease, which meant he could die any time. But turns out, Yeon-woo didn't mind this and offered to help him with treatments to get better. What she didn't say was that she had secretly fallen in love with him since they met before the wedding. Sadly, that night turned into a night of sorrow when Kang-ha had a heart attack and vomited blood, which led to his death. It was a heartbreaking moment for Yeon-woo and her family, especially since they had longed for this marriage. The next day, Kang-ha's stepmother came to Yeon-woo's house and accused her of causing her son's death. Even though Yeon-woo knew the woman was pretending, she agreed to a 3-year mourning period and living at her husband's place. After the funeral, Yeon-woo found a fallen wedding dress decoration under a table and kept it as a keepsake. That night, a mysterious man sneaked into Yeon-woo's house and kidnapped her. She couldn't scream because her mouth was covered. The kidnapper took her to a well near her house and pushed her in, and tragically, she drowned while holding a flower she had picked when she tried to resist. Back in the present, Yeonwoo is still by the swimming pool and realizes that what she's going through isn't a dream. She knows it's real because she's still holding the same flower from when she drowned in the well. Frustrated, she screams because of the strange things that just happened to her. Meanwhile, Taeha, who doesn't have time to find a new bride, decides to propose a fake marriage to Yeonwoo, especially since Sungmo has supposedly arrived at the hotel. Yeonwoo agrees because she still thinks of Taeha as her husband and also asks for his help to go back to Jojin. Soon after, she's all set to be Taeha's bride, although she's still getting used to the dress and high-heeled shoes. As she enters the wedding hall, Taeha is amazed by how beautiful Yeonwoo looks. He even helps her with her loose shoes and asks her not to say anything in front of Sungmo. Sungmo, who's the only one attending Taeha's wedding, feels happy because his favorite grandson has gotten married, and he can now make Taeha the successor of his company. Soon after, the wedding proceeds, but when Taeha is about to kiss Yeonwoo, she faints because she's never been so close to the opposite sex before. After the wedding, Taeha was relieved because Sungmo finally agreed to go to America for treatment. He also met Yeonwoo, who had just woken up after fainting, and thanked her for her help with the fake marriage. He even gave her some money as a thank you gift, but she didn't want to part ways and still believed they were husband and wife from another time. Soon after, Taeha tried to explain to Yeonwoo that they were actually living in the modern world in 2023, and her old home had become a national cultural heritage site. However, she didn't pay attention to his explanations and insisted that Taeha was her husband from the Joseon era. On a different occasion, Songpyo, who was watching Yeonwoo, was surprised by her behavior, like not knowing how to open a door. Because of this, he thought of taking her to the hospital to see if she had amnesia. Unfortunately, just as he was about to ask her to come with him, Yeonwoo suddenly disappeared and was spotted on the street, greeting people while wearing traditional Korean clothes called hanbok. Soon after, the scene shifts to Min Hae-suk, who wants to be the leader of the S8 crew. At that time, she went to Busan City on a business trip to buy an old painting from the Joseon era from Mr. Yoon. After they finished the buying and selling, Yoon asked if they were planning to make Taeha the CEO after his wedding. Their Hae-suk said no and thought Taeha was too young for that job. Plus, they hadn't set a date for Taeha's wedding, so they wouldn't pick a new CEO anytime soon. In her heart, Hae-suk was pretty sure she'd become the company's head, even though Sungmo had already chosen an heir. When Hae-suk got back to Seoul, her assistant showed her photos of Taeha's wedding, and she was shocked. She then called her son, Kang Ta-min, to meet up. Ta-min, who was at a shopping center, got into an unpleasant situation with Yeonwoo, who was stuck at a gate. Ta-min got annoyed and tried to chase her, but she threw away some money given by Songpyo, thinking it wasn't valuable. At the same time, Songpyo was telling Tae how that he had lost track of Yeonwoo. So Taeha asked his assistant to check the hotel's surveillance cameras to see what happened to Yeonwoo before she was sent home. Meanwhile, Yeonwoo found herself stranded on the streets without any purpose or people she knew. She also remembered Chanyong's prediction that she would lose something important, but would go on a long journey to achieve her goals. While thinking about everything, a boy named Lee So-jun approached Yeonwoo after he found some money that had fallen from her bag. At first, she didn't understand what the paper was for, but she later realized it was money after So-jun used it to buy some food, as she admitted she was hungry. Then they sat in front of a store and ate. Suddenly, So-jun got a call from his mother, Taeha's aunt named Kang Hae-ryong, who had just bumped into a girl who looked like Sabol. After their dinner, Yeonwoo rested at a playground, missing her mother, who used to put her to sleep on their house's terrace. The next day, Taeha got news that Sungmo's surgery had been postponed. When he got home, his grandfather was waiting to meet Yeonwoo. Taeha lied, saying that Yeonwoo had gone for a walk and wasn't at home. Later, he contacted his grandfather's doctor to check why Sungmo's surgery had been postponed. The doctor said the surgery was rescheduled for another month, and Taeha had to ask Songpyo to find out where Yeonwoo was immediately. On the other hand, Yeonwoo, who had spent the night at the playground, woke up looking messy and was teased by some kids who thought she was acting strangely for sleeping there. Fortunately, Taeha finally got the CCTV footage that showed Yeonwoo at a convenience store. Then, he hurried to meet her, but now Yeonwoo didn't call him her husband anymore cause she even called him a cheater. At that time, Taeha tried to calm her down and offered her to stay at his house for a day to meet his grandfather. She agreed, and as they were going home together, she looked confused about getting into Taeha's car. When they arrived home, Yeonwoo, who had never been in a car before, felt carsick and got nauseous in front of Sungmo. This made it seem like she might be pregnant, but both Yeonwoo and Taeha denied it. There, Sungmo mentioned that he planned to stay in Korea for a few days before leaving for Italy on business. Taeha, hearing this, had to ask Yeonwoo to stay with him for the next few days. That night, Yeonwoo felt hungry and went to the kitchen to get some food from the refrigerator. At the same time, Taeha came down to investigate the noise and was surprised to see Yeonwoo eating, thinking she might be a ghost. Meanwhile, at their home, Hae-suk asked Sungmo about Taeha's secret wedding, which had been kept hidden from the family and the media. There, Sungmo responded casually to his son-in-law's question. The following day, Hae-suk and Taemin went to Taeha's house to meet Yeonwoo in person. Taeha, who was at the office and just got the news, looked worried that the secret of his fake marriage might be revealed. On the other hand, Yeonwoo was watching a TV show featuring historical dramas and thought that television could be a way for her to return to the Joseon era. While pondering this, she was surprised when Taemin, whom she had met before at the shopping center, showed up. At that moment, Taemin was increasingly taken aback by her strange behavior. When he saw Hae-suk, Yeonwoo remembered that Taeha's stepmother resembled Kungha's stepmother from the past. Meanwhile, at his office, Taeha rushed to leave so he could get home quickly. Unfortunately, his car tire burst, and he even hit a road divider in his hurry. In a panic, he called Song-pyo to come pick him up. Fortunately, he made it home in time before Hae-suk could ask Yeonwoo some odd questions. When he asked his stepmother to leave, Hae-suk claimed she had come only to invite Sungmo to a birthday party. After leaving Taeha's house, Hae-suk instructed her son to come to the office so he could secure his position in shares. While at the office, she shared with her secretary Choi and her right-hand man, Won Young-soo, that she had met Yeonwoo. She felt that Yeonwoo already knew a lot about her from Taeha's wife's expression. There, Young-soo also reported difficulties in finding Yeonwoo's family background since she was rumored to be an adopted daughter. Hae-suk, becoming wary that Sungmo might appoint Taeha as CEO at any time, ordered Young-soo to monitor the company and control the other shareholders. Back at home, Taeha reminds Yeonwoo that their marriage agreement will end soon, so she can leave his house. Yeonwoo doesn't seem to pay much attention to Taeha's explanation because she's still wondering why there are people around Taeha who seem to match his family from Joseon. Taeha, getting frustrated with Yeonwoo's questions, asks her to prove that she's really from the past. This annoys her because Taeha's nature is different from her husband in Joseon. On another occasion, Yeonwoo starts thinking about how she can go back to the past. She realizes that the only place she can return to Joseon is the hotel where she almost drowned. The next day, Song-pyo can't find Yeonwoo at the hotel because she secretly took a taxi to the hotel where she first arrived in the future. Unfortunately, she doesn't have any money, so she ends up at the police station. The police officers don't understand her because she's using old-fashioned language from the past. She also gets scared when she sees a criminal about to be thrown into prison. Not wanting to end up in jail, she leaves the police station when the officers realize she's the woman Song-pyo was looking for. At Sungmo's house, he was seen scolding his biological daughter, Aryong, for stealing money. She had to do it to pay for Sawol's hospital bills, the girl Sungmo had hit a few days ago. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sawol's health had improved, and she was adjusting well to the modern era. On the other hand, Taeha finally learned about Yeonwoo's attempt to return to Joseon by jumping into the swimming pool. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and when Yeonwoo examined a tree near the pond, she realized it was the same tree from her past. There she found a scratch on the tree's bark that her grandfather had made when measuring her height. This made Yeonwoo feel sad, and she didn't know how to return to her old life and be with her family. That evening, Taeha invited Yeonwoo to his home to discuss a marriage contract. He intended to officially marry her for just 1 month. They talked about the contract, and she asked for his help in getting back home and providing her favorite food. On another day, Taeha was seen visiting the doctor because his heart had been beating faster, especially when he was close to Yeonwoo. Meanwhile, Yeonwoo was at home and got scared by an automatic cleaning robot, causing her to run out of the house. Unfortunately, she couldn't get back in because the door locked behind her. In the evening, Taeha and Yeonwoo seemed to be getting closer. They went to a convenience store to buy food, and Taeha even lent her some clothes. The next day, Hae-suk received news that the painting she got for an exhibition was a fake, but she chose to ignore it, hoping that Taeha, as the person responsible would be blamed. When she met Taemin, she once again urged him to start working at the company and compete for a higher position than Taeha. However, Taemin, feeling pressured, got so angry that he accidentally broke a glass, injuring his hand. Later, Taemin met Yeonwoo at home and took her to Taeha's office to confirm if she was his cousin's fake wife. When she saw Taemin's injured hand, she helped him bandage it, which touched him because she cared. After spending a long time in the office, Yeonwoo, not wanting to cause trouble, asked Taemin to take her home. Hearing that, he refused, so she secretly ran away from him and met Song Pyo, who then took her to meet Taeha. Yeonwoo's presence in the office turned out to be helpful for Taeha, when she informed him that one of the paintings meant for an exhibition was a fake. Taeha immediately called his subordinate to get an explanation. When the subordinate admitted the painting was fake, Taeha was confused because he needed to find the original painting in a short time, and the exhibition was approaching. Luckily, Yeonwoo remembered seeing the original painting at a hotel, so she and Taeha rushed to retrieve it. When they arrived at the hotel, they had to search through various items in the warehouse because the hotel staff didn't even know they had stored this historical painting. Meanwhile, the exhibition had officially opened, and many international guests who were collaborating with the company were questioning the absence of the artwork titled Flowers and Butterflies. There, Hae-suk tried to explain, putting Taeha in a difficult situation. Just before the guests became even more disappointed, Taeha managed to bring the original painting, astonishing everyone with his hard work, including Sungmo. A few days later, Hae-suk received a report from Choi that Vanessa or Kim Mae-young, who was initially going to marry Taeha, had been found. Based on the information gathered, they concluded that Yeonwoo was Taeha's temporary wife. Meanwhile, at a fancy restaurant, Yeonwoo tells Tae that she knows the original artist of the Flowers and Butterflies painting, which make him recognize the real artwork easily. As a token of his gratitude, Taeha takes Yeonwoo to enjoy various dishes at the upscale restaurant. After the meal, Yeonwoo seems to have had too much to drink and gets drunk. She unconsciously kisses Tae because she dreams of reuniting with her husband. The next day, Yeonwoo apologizes to Taeha for getting drunk the night before, but she doesn't remember the kiss. While at the office, Taeha finds it hard to concentrate because he keeps thinking about the kiss. He acts strangely and eventually ends the meeting. Song Pyo, who notices the change in his boss after meeting Yeonwoo, talks about his suspicions regarding her. He suggests that she might be an art student with amnesia. One morning, during breakfast with his family, Taemin expresses his desire to work at a company. However, Sungmo doesn't seem very supportive because Taemin has spent most of his time partying and becoming a celebrity. After breakfast, Hae-suk meets with her son to understand his reasons for wanting to join the company. Taemin says he just wants to do something at the office, but has no intention of taking sides. Hearing that, Hae-suk remains silent in response to that answers. On another occasion, Hae-suk, who has finally found out about Hae-young, orders her men to kidnap the girl. She plans to make a deal with Hae-young to get rid of Yeonwoo, who is Taeha's fake wife. When Taeha came home from work one day, he was surprised by Yeonwoo's playful act with an automatic cleaning robot. Concerned, he decided to take her to the hospital to check if she had amnesia. Unbeknownst to Yeonwoo, Sa-wol was also receiving treatment at the hospital. After Yeonwoo's examination, the doctor assured them that she was okay. However, the doctor was secretly worried about Taeha's heart health. On his way home, a patient asked Taeha for help, triggering a childhood trauma where he couldn't get help when his biological mother passed away. Seeing Taeha distressed, Yeonwoo tried to comfort him and convinced him not to contact the doctor. Taeha then decided to rest at home and had to cancel a meeting at the office. Hae-suk, upon learning that Taeha wasn't coming to the office, began to suspect that he might be up to something. Meanwhile, Yeonwoo expressed her concern about Taeha's health. However, Song Pyo reassured her, explaining that her boss was simply stressed from work exhaustion. One evening, Hae-suk accidentally visited Taeha's house. Upon seeing Taeha's stepmother arriving, Yeonwoo quickly prevented her from entering, claiming that Taeha wasn't home. Despite feeling annoyed, Hae-suk chose to leave. The next day, Sungmo's birthday was approaching and Song Pyo started sharing various details with Yeonwoo about Taeha's family history and how they met and eventually got married. At that time, Yeonwoo paid close attention to Song Pyo's explanations. In secret, Yeonwoo began working on a project that she planned to gift to Sungmo. Meanwhile, Sungmo was in the process of opening a room filled with antique items, including a painting created by Kungha in the past. On the other hand, Hae-suk gave some money to Hae-yong and pressured her to admit being Taeha's future wife in front of Sungmo. On Sungmo's birthday, Taeha and Yeonwoo were warmly received by Hae-ryong and Sojun, who had previously helped Yeonwoo when she was lost. During the meal, as expected, Hae-suk asked Yeonwoo various questions, including discussing her status as an adopted child. Taeha tried to divert the conversation because he was concerned that Yeonwoo might find it difficult to answer. A few moments later, they were startled by the family's new servant, Sungmo, breaking a glass. Surprisingly, the maid turned out to be Sabul, who had been hired by Hae-ryong. At that time, Yeonwoo, realizing that Sabul was also trapped in the future, secretly met her in the kitchen. There, Sabul explained that she had come to the future by entering the same well where Yeonwoo had drowned. Later, Sungmo intended to show Yeonwoo his valuable painting, but he abandoned the idea when Hae-suk called them to have dessert. Unexpectedly, Hae-suk had arranged for Hae-yong to attend Sungmo's birthday party. Song-pyo, who knew about the plan, attempted to stop the car carrying Hae-yong, but was defeated by Choi, allowing Hae-yong to attend the party. Strangely, Taemin defended Taeha by pretending to tell his family that Hae-yong was his girlfriend. Sadly, Taemin's actions angered Hae-suk, as her son had thwarted her plan to harm Taeha. Meanwhile, Taeha remained curious about Taemin's true intentions. Song-pyo, on the other hand, seemed to accompany Hae-yong, who planned to go abroad for a while to avoid becoming a target for Hae-suk. Back at Sungmo's house after Yeonwoo had given a gift to Taeha's grandfather, she asked if she could stay overnight because she secretly wanted to meet Sawol. There, Sungmo was delighted to hear this and praised Yeonwoo for fitting in so well with his family. As a result, he had prepared a romantic room for Yeonwoo and Taeha. Shortly after, Taeha met with Song-pyo in the car to receive a report about Yeonwoo's family history in the Joseon era. When he cross-referenced all the information with Yeonwoo's claims about her identity, it matched the historical records, confirming that she came from the family of a royal minister. Meanwhile, behind Sungmo's house, Yeonwoo was waiting to meet Sawol. While waiting for her servant from the Joseon era, Yeonwoo spotted a woman who looked similar to Chanyong and decided to follow her into the forest. In the dark night, Yeonwoo lost sight of the woman and felt that someone was lurking behind a tree, possibly targeting her. Fortunately, Taeha arrived just in time to rescue her from the potential threat, but they both ended up slipping into a ravine together. On the other hand, Song-pyo, who discovered the situation, quickly brought the unconscious Yeonwoo back home. At that time, Sawol also appeared concerned for Yeonwoo, which made Taeha suspect that she might have known Yeonwoo in the past. Taeha then asked Song-pyo and Sawol to leave the room so that Yeonwoo could rest. When Yeonwoo regained consciousness, Taeha showed more care towards her and she, in turn, helped him tend to his wounds from the fall in the ravine. On the other hand, Song-pyo and Sawol seemed to grow closer as they had to hide from Hae-suk, who had returned home after meeting a designer named Lee Mi-dum, who bore a resemblance to Yeonwoo's mother, to discuss a cooperation proposal. The next day, Sawol woke Yeonwoo and learned that she had seen someone resembling Chanyong in the forest. Yeonwoo believed that this woman might know a way for them to return to Joseon. Sawol, however, believed that the only way they could return was if Yeonwoo fulfilled her desire to sleep with Taeha as husband and wife. That morning, Hae-ryong enthusiastically taught Yeonwoo some manners, even though she was irritated by her nephew's wife. The following day, during a shareholder meeting led by Hae-suk, there was a secretive discussion about Taeha's future position in the company after his marriage. Some shareholders disagreed with Sungmo's plan to gift the company to Taeha as a wedding present. Suddenly, Sungmo himself entered the meeting, causing Hae-suk to halt her discussion. In Sungmo's meeting, they discussed Taeha's appointment as CEO after his successful collaboration with a designer in a fashion exhibition. In the office, Secretary Yoo Han-na received news from designer Mi-dum that Do Yoon-jae had rejected Taeha's proposal because it didn't align with the traditional Korean clothing focus of the senior designer. Soon after, Han-na entered Taeha's room to inform him, but couldn't help stealing a glance at her boss, whom she secretly liked, as he slept. On another occasion, Sungmo met with Taeha and suggested that he take Yeonwoo abroad to quell rumors about their marriage. Taeha, however, believed he could address the rumors without leaving the country. After the meeting, he consulted a historian about a Joseon royal minister from the 1500s. The historian shared information that the minister lived in the area that had now become a luxury hotel where Yeonwoo and Taeha first met. He also mentioned a myth about a tree by the pond that never bloomed, but strangely, when Yeonwoo appeared, the tree was in full bloom. Outside the building, Taeha and Song Pyo continued discussing Sawol, whom they suspected might also be from the past like Yeonwoo. After work, Taeha saw Yeonwoo dressed in a beautiful hanbok and told her that he now believed everything she had said about being from the past. Yeonwoo was overjoyed by this and hugged him, pleading with him not to doubt her anymore. Another day, Taemin started working at the company and joined Taeha's team. Rumors about Taeha's marriage and Yeonwoo's background began to circulate, and it seemed like Hae-suk was pleased with these negative rumors, hinting that she might be behind their spread. Taemin warned Taeha to address the rumors quickly because he didn't want Yeonwoo to be hurt by them. He also confessed that he had feelings for Yeonwoo, even though she was just Taeha's contract wife. Meanwhile, Sungmo met with Mr. Kim to discuss a company project involving designer Mi-dum. This project was proving challenging for Taeha to secure because Hae-suk had made a separate agreement with the designer. That night, something important happened to Yeonwoo and Taeha. While Yeonwoo was buying food at the store, a strange man talked to her. At that time, Taeha got worried and told her she couldn't meet anyone without asking him first. Unbeknownst to them, a reporter secretly took pictures of them together. The next day, Yeonwoo fixed Taeha's torn shirt with some embroidery, and he liked it so much he wanted to wear it to work. When Taeha got to his office, lots of journalists wanted to know about the photos that made it seem like he and Yeonwoo were secretly married. This made Hannah, who had a crush on Taeha, really sad. In the afternoon, Taeha's personal doctor came to talk to him. The doctor said Taeha's heart was not doing well, and he needed another operation because his heart's blood vessels were getting narrow. Taeha didn't want to do the surgery yet because he wanted to focus on his family's company's anniversary celebration. The doctor didn't push him and just gave him strong painkillers. Then, let's talk about what happened with Sawol, Yeonwoo, Taeha, and some other people. Sawol went to Taeha's house and made Yeonwoo happy by cooking her favorite food. While they were talking, she noticed that Taeha had forgotten his work file at home, even though he needed it for an important meeting. So, Yeonwoo and Sawol hurried to Taeha's office to give him the file. But there were reporters at the office who recognized Yeonwoo and tried to interview her. Luckily, Taemin helped Yeonwoo escape from the reporters. During this time, Yeonwoo saw someone who looked a lot like her mother, Mi-dum, and tried to follow her, but lost her eventually. When Mi-dum met Taeha, she turned down his proposal because she was more interested in Hae-suk's proposal. When Taeha tried to negotiate with her again, Mi-dum noticed the embroidery on his clothes. Soon after, Yeonwoo appeared and unexpectedly hugged Mi-dum, calling her mother. At that time, Mi-dum was surprised and didn't understand why Yeonwoo was doing that. In a meeting room, Sungmo was in a tough spot because some company directors were talking about rumors regarding Taeha's secret marriage, which seemed to be affecting sales in big malls. They were also concerned about the company's future, since they heard Taeha hadn't been cooperating with Mi-dum, who was currently talking to Yeonwoo. Yeonwoo then apologized for the misunderstanding caused by her sudden hug with Mi-dum. Surprisingly, Mi-dum, who knew that Yeonwoo had embroidered the decoration on Taeha's shirt, expressed her interest in her talent. She even asked to take Taeha's shirt home. Mi-dum also agreed to work with Taeha, but with one condition that Yeonwoo had to be on their team. When the directors heard about this collaboration, they felt relieved because the company could now work with a famous designer. In his study, Taeha tried to hide his chest pain because his heart condition had returned. He pretended to be okay when Hae-suk came in. Song Pyo also helped by distracting Hae-suk before she left the room. Shortly after, Song Pyo gave Taeha medicine and suggested going to the hospital, but Taeha refused. At Mi-dum's house, she admires the embroidery done by Yeonwoo on Taeha's shirt. She remembers her conversation with Taeha about why she wanted to work with Yeonwoo. She mentioned that Yeonwoo's embroidery reminded her of a piece that was over 200 years old. Meanwhile, in her room, Yeonwoo is surprised to see a flower she brought from the Joseon era has wilted and fallen off its stem. She thinks this might be a bad sign. Later on, Taeha tries to convince Yeonwoo to join his team, not just because of their cooperation as a married couple, but because he really needs her skills as a designer. The next day, Yeonwoo, who has agreed to Taeha's request, gets ready to go to the office wearing her designer clothes. Taeha is captivated by her beauty when he sees her. When they arrive at the office, he introduces Yeonwoo as a team member who will be working directly with Mi-dum. In that moment, Yeonwoo's beauty catches the attention of male colleagues like Yoonjae and Taemin, which makes Taeha even more anxious. One evening during a dinner to welcome Yeonwoo to the team, her co-workers asked her about her relationship with Taeha to confirm if the rumor about them being married was true. Yeonwoo chose not to clarify the situation to avoid adding to the rumors. Meanwhile, Hanna felt jealous of Yeonwoo because she thought Yeonwoo had a prettier and more attractive face than her. At the same time, Yeonwoo's friendly behavior with the opposite sex made Taeha uncomfortable, especially when their manager praised Yeonwoo and Yoonjae as a great couple. Because of that, Taeha ended the dinner early because he worried that Yeonwoo might kiss someone, like she had done to him when he was drunk. Outside the restaurant, Yoonjae offered to take Yeonwoo home, and Taeha, who didn't like the idea, tried to ask Songpyo to take her home instead. However, Taeha reluctantly agreed to let Yoonjae take Yeonwoo home to keep her identity as Taeha's wife a secret. When it's almost midnight, Taeha got worried because Yeonwoo hadn't come home yet, so he decided to go look for her. When he reached a crossroads near his house, he accidentally saw Yoonjae trying to get close to Yeonwoo in a romantic way. Taeha shouted to stop Yoonjae and quickly hid behind a wall. After Yeonwoo finally got home, Taeha complained about her being close to another guy, which upset Yeonwoo, leading to a fight due to a misunderstanding. He also brought up Yeonwoo's habit of kissing people when she's drunk, but he admitted that his drinking habit was just annoying his drinking buddies. Taeha then wondered if the kiss that happened with Yeonwoo the other day was because she was drunk or if it meant something more. The next day, Sungmo met a skilled craftsman to fix his worn-out belongings, including an old watch that looked exactly like Yeonwoo's. Meanwhile, at the office, Hanna tries to make Yeonwoo handle multiple tasks. Later, Taemin helps Yeonwoo come up with design ideas. Unfortunately, Hae-suk gets irritated by how close Yeonwoo and Taemin are and warns Yeonwoo to keep her distance from Taemin if she doesn't want trouble at the company. Taemin also stands up to his mother, telling Hae-suk not to interfere in his life and not to disturb Yeonwoo because her main target is Taeha. Meanwhile, Sungmo's at his home, talking to Taeha about Taeha becoming the CEO of SH Group. There, Sungmo asks Taeha not to involve Yeonwoo in the project, worried it might be too much for her. But Taeha explains that Mi-dum had asked Yeonwoo to be part of the project. Their conversation pauses as Taeha looks at a family pavilion where his mother passed away. Sungmo tries to offer support and hopes Taeha will become stronger to face challenges, including Hae-suk's influence, which is challenging to overcome. When Taeha got home, he noticed how dedicated Yeonwoo was to her design work. This made him even more convinced that she was truly dependable, even though she came from a different time. Thanks to her hard work, Yeonwoo's design was finally approved by Mi-dum as the theme for the exhibition. Soon after, Sungmo met with Hae-suk on purpose to remind her that her duty was to assist Taeha, not control the company. Hae-suk, irritated by Sungmo's word, seemed to express her anger in front of a portrait of Taeha's biological mother who had passed away. A few days later at the office, Songpyo reported that someone was trying to sabotage Taeha's car in the company parking lot. He also started worrying about Yeonwoo, fearing she might become the next target. So during a board of directors meeting, Taeha announced that Yeonwoo was his wife and would help make the company's anniversary event a success. After this announcement, Yeonwoo expressed her disappointment to Taeha for revealing her identity in front of so many people. However, Taeha explained that it was the only way to protect her from Hae-suk's bad intentions. On another occasion with someone's assistance, Yeonwoo finally discovered that the clothes she brought from Jojin had changed color because of exposure to arsenic poison. She recalled that these clothes had been stained with Kung-he's blood before he died. This made her suspect that someone may have intentionally killed her husband in the Joseon era. On a different day, Yeonwoo met Chanyang and asked the guardian deity for help in returning to the past. Chanyang admitted she couldn't assist and encouraged Yeonwoo to find the answers herself. When Yeonwoo arrived at the office, Songpyo looked alarmed upon seeing Choi, who had invited Yeonwoo to Sungmo's family pavilion to draw Taeha into a room and trigger his traumatic memories from the past. Inside the pavilion, Yeonwoo noticed many ancient collections, and as Hae-suk had planned, Taeha rushed to save her. During this incident, Yeonwoo tried to avoid getting hurt by pieces of wood in the room. In the end of the scene, Taeha began experiencing a panic attack due to his trauma, struggling to breathe. There, Yeonwoo helped him by loosening his clothes and was surprised to find a surgical scar on Taeha's chest. This reminded her of Chan Yang's words about a recurring destiny that Yanwu would go through. The series ends. The moral lesson from this series is if you desperately wants to get married, just drown yourself in the pool and wait for someone to save you and propose you after that.